Okay, so I really don't like being on camera, but I did want to discuss these. This is part 2 of it. This is the violet transmuting flame, archangel Zadkiel's address. So, on the following, we give excerpts of an address given to students by Archangel Zadkiel on the Sacred Fire, September 20th, 1957. It was presented at the retreat of Archangel Michael at Banff in the Canadian Rockies. The activities of violet fire vary in different spheres. Now, as we have told you, all the activities of the violet fire are not identical in every sphere. This has aroused a little curiosity in the minds of the research members of our activities, so I'll endeavor to explain. In any realm where no imperfection exists, the violet fire is utilized by cosmic beings, ascended masters, and angelic hosts to etherealize a form which has served its purpose for being. For instance, let us take the first sphere, which is the natural habitat of Archangel Michael, beloved Moria, and Hercules, into which ideas of the Godhead first flow. The beings of the blue ray are in constant busy service there, endeavoring to utilize those ideas for the ever-expanding blessings of God to man. Each of these ideas has a heart center, which represents the magnetic power of the immortal threefold flame of eternal truth, which abides within your physical heart and renders that service of cohesion to you. Later, around those ideas, the beings of the second ray coalesce the form thereof. These ideas are tremendous in their scope that there is no human mind which can describe them. However, if the great beings of the first sphere are looking at the cosmic screen, not only for the planet Earth, but for the entire solar system, see that those particular ideas cannot efficaciously be efficiently used at that time, what do? These great beings then invoke and project the violet ray into that idea, and by the activity of etherealization, they release the substance within around that form, letting it return to the universal form whence it came, to be used again in the future for some other purpose and form. So energy is reused, repurposed, purified, and given back to where it came from. Conservation of energy in heaven's realm is most magnificent indeed. Even in the realms of light, no perfected being will ever hold in form any substance after it has served its purpose and has completed its course of manifestation. So it won't hold it hostage. It won't hold the energy hostage. When it's done its job, is like with any entities that you work with, you welcome them. They work with you, and then you say farewell to them. You let them go. They always come when you call, and they're always there to protect you. And they're available to all. Like, no matter what walk of life, what culture you come from, they're available to everyone. So I'm really getting tired of people telling me I'm not allowed to pray to angels or the beings that I choose to. No one owns any of them, and no one owns the boss of any of it. If we're all. Anyways, etherealization through the conscious use of the violet fire is well known on all the planets of the system and was used here on Earth by our own dear selves before we forgot the way back home. At the completion of the designated lifespan, etherealization is the way and means by which the people of Venus, the conscious endeavor, transmuted into light, leaving no residue behind the physical vehicles in which light streams had functioned. Conscious etherealization can be used by any man, woman, or child on this planet Earth who will consciously, lovingly, and gratefully call forth the violet flame, because etherealization is one of the gifts of that beneficent friend to life. It is easier to clear it out than to hang on to that energy. Transmute it. The source of every ray, flame, or virtue is the heart of God. The ray strikes downward to the point where the call has gone up, where the magnetic pull of energy consciously invoked it. Then beginning to return to its source, that ray becomes a flame, which rises upward because it has been said so often. It is the nature of the flame always to ascend, rise up. And as much as light is life, God's own life, the substance of the ray and flame which has come forth as a result of life. Whereas someone's conscious invocation, the light is the very life essence animating any project or activity. That is why so many good movements of the spiritual as well as the secular nature cease to have life when the magnetizing life stream in physical form takes his or her departure to inner lovers in so-called death. As a rule, the followers of this doctrine, which that one has magnetized, do not understand that the flame must be rhythmically called forth and nourished by daily application. Otherwise, the flame will ascend right back to the Father from whom it came, and the sustaining power of activity therefore ceases to be in this octave. When you want the violent fire of freedom's love, mercy, and compassion to act in the physical appearance world, you invoke it in the name and authority of your own God self, your own individual as I am presence. The violet ray and flame have become more and more powerful as they have been called forth all through the ages, in every sphere, by every divine being, as well as by the nourishment of those great beings who have served and drawn forth this ray and flame right here on earth, including the great sun Mara himself. At your call, that ray and flame will answer you instantly, because the immortal fruitful flame of eternal truth which lives right within your own beating heart is a divine magnet which the violet flame lovingly desires to obey. Then that ray immediately becomes a living flame and begins the process of ascending. This again represents the dual activity of centripetal and centrifugal forces, which is inside of atoms, which is inside of the earth, which is inside of us. Now, to sustain the violet flame in this physical appearance world, there must be self-conscious life streams to act as magnets for the flame, with willing minds and hearts and an understanding of the efficacy of this application. These life streams should continue joyously to draw the flame and rhythmically bathe the physical, ethereal, mental, and emotional vehicles of themselves and the entire race in the violet flame. Thus, they sustain its action here in Earth's atmosphere. In these days, when the activities of the seventh ray are so much evidence in the reign of our beloved Saint Germaine, as Kohen of the seventh ray has already begun, you have opportunity to call forth this violet fire into this physical world around persons, places, conditions, and things where it most surely needed, or is most surely needed. To have the most efficacious use of this purifying activity of the violet fire, I'm going to try to bring to you today a realization of the importance of rhythm in your use of it. It is better to use the flame for shorter periods at a time and not to stay in it too long. It is much better to call forth more often for shorter periods of time in the rhythmic activity, as we have suggested to you time after time. Set aside some uninterrupted time each day, if only 5 minutes at a time, say 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night, to invoke that violet flame, calling for it to blaze up and through and around you. At that time, giving conscious recognition to great beings who serve it and who have sustained it all through the ages by the gift of their own life. Feel its activity in, through, and around you, then expanding out into the world around you, about you, which requires it so much. If you will do this, not tiring of the exercise or considering it a chore, but with the consciousness of joyous gratitude, for the use of this merciful transmuting power, which is yours as a glad-free gift of love from your Heavenly Father, your own individual I am presence. There is no reason why this violet flame cannot be externalized in this physical appearance world, visible and tangible to the physical side of all that it sees. On Atlantis, long ago, we did externalize the gigantic focus of the violet fire, and this radiating flame was seen by the physical side of all for a distance of 1,000 miles in all directions. That it had to be constantly called forth once every hour during each 24-hour period. To use the violet radiant flames is so practical, but in its invocation, never allow feeling or fear, doubt, and discouragement to remain in your world and to register within your etheric bodies. The moment you become tense in your application, or the moment you sense within yourself a feeling of strain in applying the law, that moment your feeling world has questioned the absolute science of the magnetization and radiation of this flame. If this occurs, just let your application alone for a while. Turn your attention to something else. Later, when you quiet your feelings again, call upon your ascended master, friend of light, whichever one or more of us you desire, and ask that one to give you his feeling of the exact silence of absolutely unfailing law, which is within the magnetizing and radiating of this virtue of freedom. Believe me, you will receive that for which you ask. Be still for a moment, however, and wait for the master's feelings to flood your emotional body. You see, it is the trying too hard, the striving through over-consciousness, which delays so much of your manifestation. So you're putting too much energy into causation. Just know. Just still know. You are God. The violet ray and flame are tremendous momentums of God power. Perhaps you'll remember that the blood Sanat Kumara was the very first showing of the violet ray of this earth, and our beloved Kuan Yin, Goddess of Mercy, was one of its Kohens also. At inner levels of consciousness, below the perfected realms, just what does the violet fire do? And what is the service of this ministering angels? As you have been told, there are limitless legions of angels of mercy and compassion, qualities of violet fire, who give as much service as they can in the astral realm. This is the realm which constitutes most of the Earth's atmosphere, in the past and up to this time. For that realm extends out from the Earth about 10,000 feet. In this realm abide the destructively qualified thought and feeling forms, created and released by mankind during embodiment here, and until a year or so ago, 1956, that's when this wrote, souls who had passed from physical embodiment, but because of certain magnetic attractions to the discord of Earth, through habits of thought, feeling, spoken word, and deed of a like nature, were often bound in this realm for long periods of time. This condition, as you know, has now been remedied, and no souls allowed to remain in Earth's atmosphere after leaving the body. They are taken directly through to inner levels where they are assisted in gaining their freedoms more quickly. This is one of the tremendous mercies of the cosmic law, which has been recently made possible during the last few years in particular, by the calls from unascended mankind for the use of the violet transmuting flame and other activities of sacred fire. Today, there are no discarnate souls allowed to remain in the atmosphere of Earth. Now, as the soul leaves its garments of flesh, and what the world terms death, the one is met by certain angels who render that service. These souls are then taken, and I'm speaking to the mass of mankind now, who know nothing of the use of violet fire as you do, to the river of the violet flame spoken of in mythology as the river Styx. This river had been provided at inner levels for the purification of those life streams from as much discordantly qualified energy as possible, before either going to the sleeper's realm, if they need that rest, or before appearing before the karmic board to receive their assignments of study and service in inner levels between embodiments. This river of the violet fire of which we spoke has been drawn forth by those who serve the seventh ray. According to the same principles which we described to you earlier in this address, the drawing first of the ray through invocation of the Godhead in the name and authority of the creative word I am. Then as the ray reaches the destination to which is called forth, it immediately turns upward in the living flame activity as it returns to its source, completing the circle of its existence. As this invocation is rhythmically continued day after day, year after year, and century after century, in the case of the angels who have drawn this river of violet fire, this ray of flame becomes very, very powerful and expand in size until it becomes a veritable river of this merciful, purifying, freeing essence into which the evolutions of earth may be taken between embodiments for as much purification as possible. This river has been sustained by the constant, never-ending rhythmic calls of these angels at definite periods during the 24 hours. The beauty of this violet fire river is indescribable, therefore its appearance does not frighten these souls who have passed through the change called death. When they are invited to step into it and bathe in its substance, this violet fire then dissolves much of the causes and causes of visible distresses of the individual's past earth life, especially those that caused their demise. Legions of violet fire angels surround the halls of karma. A soul who has just been released from an earth life is called to appear before the karmic board. These angels provide an atmosphere of purifying violet fire there, so that every soul who, as he appears before the karmic board, must pass through their radiation as they enter these halls. Then, when the souls are given their individual assignments for instruction and assistance between embodiments, some of these violet fire angels go with them to their places of abode at inner levels. While in these inner spheres, the violet fire angels often use a very delicate shade of violet so that, as easily as possible, they're able to minister to these individuals while arousing the rebellions and resentments of their inner bodies by too quick or powerful an activity, even of the mercy flame. Again, before entering the gates of birth, when a soul who desires to re-embody stands before the karmic board, asks permission to do so, these lovely angels of violet fire stand around them in the karmic halls, circle after circle, tier upon tier, as far as the eye can see. The loving beauty of these violet fire angels is simply beyond description. Here again, they provide an atmosphere of mercy and purification to assist the soul who needs their help. And they are available to everyone who asks for their help. Especially since the advent of the seventh ray to this planet, whenever and wherever possible, the angels of mercy and compassion go with an incoming soul, going into places sometimes which are not too pure. They endeavor to prepare the home and its atmosphere, as well as the parents, as much as they can for the coming of the infant. At times, such an angel is permitted to remain with the infant for a while, at least until the time comes when the little mind is disabused, shall we say, of the reality of angels. When this shell of rejection and thought and feeling is thus set up around the child, this beautiful angel must leave that one and return to the inner spheres again. Angels of mercy and compassion are always serving as much as possible in hospitals, mental institutions, and foci of mankind's need and discord. Today, some of these are actually living in the aura of the conscious chelas. Those of you who are daily consciously calling forth the violet fire, at least 6 of these glorious beings stand around every conscious chela who daily calls forth the violet fire for purification. Such angels await your daily conscious recognition and calls for their greater assistance to your use of the merciful flame of freedom. Today we're entering into a new age. The priests and priestesses of the order of Zadkiel are now not only given opportunity to do so, but they are commanded and expected to bring into outer manifestation, visible and tangible to the physical sight, acceptance and use of all of the violet flame in action, right here in this physical appearance world that is a fiat which came not from me, but from the Godhead itself, your Creator, whose humble and grateful servant I am. In the following, we receive additional information on the most important subject of the violent flame for the Maha Chohan. How to invoke and use the flame. Things to know and remember of the flame. In this presentation of the use of the flame, I would go further than merely unrolling the scroll and deeply urge your consideration and your concentrated interest, because it is the revolutionary activity which, when it enters life, hastens the final awakening of consciousness and greatly increases the powers and capacities of the soul to serve the race. The bridge activity is designed primarily to acquaint the consciousness of mankind of Earth with the flame. 2. The flame is the vibration of the Godhead and cohesive power that holds the sun and stars in space, and which, through the light rays from the sun, fills the atmosphere of the Earth. Because that flame powers all stars. It is the central sun, it is the central flame. Is what all the sources of the universe or our solar system came from. Okay. 3. The flame is the animating principle of life. Wherever there is God activity, flame becomes its expression. Flame is the first manifestation that is externalized. 4. The flame is a power, a substance, an intelligent force. The flame of cosmic love, of cosmic healing, of cosmic peace is all powerful. It is master. The flame is a fourth dimensional activity. The cosmic flame is the power, intelligent life. 5. The flame radiation is light, because the electronic substance which will become the created thing is woven right out of the cause, which is the flame, complete with itself at the moment that God thinks and feels his idea. The flame is the power of accomplishment, and the clothing of the flame, which is light, is the substance from which the idea will finally secure its form. Within the egg is the substance of the body of the chicken. Within the seed, the body of the tree. Within the flame is the power of motivation, and through its own light emanation, the full substance is provided for the manifestation of the idea. The size of the original flame will be determined by the amount of substance required to externalize its complete manifestation, because from its own light will the flame mold the form. 6. The flame is available like air and water in beauties of nature to all who consciously or unconsciously are capable of accepting it. B. Relation between man and the flame. 1. The only power in the universe that can accept a master flame into the heart is the feeling of loving gratitude. The immediate assignment of an aspirant is to learn how to avail himself of the electronic substance so that he may become a natural and conscious conductor of it. In order for individuals to intelligently use the power of the flame, there must be a certain illumination of the consciousness regarding both its essence and its nature. 3. The student should meditate upon the powers within this activity of the flame. Seeing and feeling is independent, positive effects, proving beyond the question of doubt the presence of the efficacy of the flame. 4. By invocation and direction of the flame, man must become a channel for its disbursement in the lower octave in which he functions at present. Invoke the flame and then stand aside and let its rushing substance continue unrecalled until the effect is manifest. The emotional body must be trained in the power which is the flame. Practice becoming the observer as well as the director of the flame. 5. The intelligent attention, the emotional devotion is all that is required to make that contact by which this substance might flow to enrich the lower atmosphere and to truly make the localized sun in and around the very environment of the cello, which is more powerful and potent of cosmic import than the worshiping one shall ever know. 6. To become a conscious director of the cosmic flame of love, supply, healing, or peace, one must be able to magnetize the electronic substance that surrounds him through the generation of the vibration, which is a supplement of the vibration of this power and essence of flame. In other words, the life stream must come into sympathy with the natural vibration of the electronic force held within whatever flame is to be invoked and directed for a certain definite purpose. C. How to invoke and direct the flame. And I cannot urge you deeply or too earnestly to experiment with the invocation and direction of flame. Visualizing and feeling it an intelligent, capable, independent element, and allowing the element as much freedom as you allow the physical flame when you apply it for cooking or disposing of unwanted substance. Preparation. Determine clearly your idea and your desire. If you want to manifest health, supply, freedom, etc., and be certain that your motive is to produce perfection in your need and universally. 2. Ask the beings in charge of the flames of humility and receptivity and gratitude to flood your feelings with their flames. 3. To establish the right vibratory action, magnetize with your thoughts and feelings the electronic substance that surrounds you with the quality you wish to manifest. This will establish the bridge or conductor between its source and you. You can say, I am the hand of God charging the electrons around me with an infinite supply of money, health, or whatever you want. Meditate upon the powers within the flame and see and feel its independent and positive effect and its freedom of action. 5. Select the master who is a specialist in the quality desired. Direct your attention and love to him. Visualize him rendering his special service to individuals personally near them or from his temple of light. By this time, you and the master are in spiritual rapport. And then here's the action. Now, invoke the master you have selected and ask him to send you a flame of the quality you desire from his own heart or from his temple of light. See it, feel it, acting. There are more than 7 rays. And I have some playlists with activating these different rays. But before you move on to any of the other chakras or rays and activations, you would want to do these base ones first, okay? And you will also want to get in the habit of clearing your chakras out each day with either yoga nidra or breathing or just consciously clearing it out. The breathing techniques that we talked about yesterday, okay? And then this action. 2, then accept the flame with a feeling of joy and deep gratitude. That matters. The feeling, love, and blessing for the master and the person that's helping you. Visualize yourself taking from the master as if with extended arms the substance and form. Then stand aside emotionally and allow the flame invoke to act. Become an observer as well as the director of the flame. Know that the flame has rendered the service demanded and act accordingly. 4. To help another. Ask the Holy Christ self of the individual to help you make the proper petition to the master. You ask for their higher self or the Holy Guardian Angel or their their ancestors or their guides for that person to work with yours to help them, to provide for them and to heal them and to do what they need. It's in the best interest of that person. Okay? So you do this with deep gratitude and with the entities and the masters that you're working with. Okay? And then you see the flame acting on your behalf, and you see the colored flame or the temple rays come out. The different ascended masters or angels come, and you would visualize and see them helping them, and you would build a rapport with them as well, and theirs. Okay? 5 is necessary and prerequisite for the student to have some knowledge of the nature of the various masters who dwell in the unseen hierarchy. So, there's a list, they have websites with them, and what kind of areas they work with in each frame and the right. Okay, so each one represents a different chakra, a different planet, a different nature of energy, different alchemical transmutation, a different rune, tarot card, different stone, crystals. They all have an association. Sephiroth, if you're into the Kabbalah, which is in the Tree of Life. But it's necessary to have some knowledge so that you can, which one to petition or to work with. And the different angels do different things. I have some playlists with the different angels and different devas and different planets and planetary assistants from gods and helpers and different gods and goddesses besides the angels. So here is a list of some of the ascended masters and the qualities. For healing, you have Helios, which is the sun, Jesus, Mary, Leto, Diana, Calliope, Kuan Yin. For opulence, freedom from limitation, you have the Maha Chohan, Surya, which is Hindu sun, Jupiter, Zeus, Fortuna, Saint Germaine. For illumination, you got the god Meru, you got the archangel Jophiel, you got Katumi, Minerva, and the elder brothers and sisters of the second ray. For love, you got Lord Maitreya, Nada, John the Beloved, Charity, Archangel Chamuel, and Paul the Venetian. For power, you have Hercules, and strength too, Archangel Michael, and El Moria. For peace, you have the Elohim of Peace, which are the angels and ministers of peace, Jesus, Maha Chohan, Surya. And the opening of inner sight or hearing, you have Cyclopea, Virginia, and Kuthumi. In the following, we get yet another view of the use of the sacred fire, violet flame, and what a group of students wanted to do with it. In 1954, a group of earnest and ardent students invoked the karmic board to be permitted to help. Through the use of the violet flame, the souls of men that passed to the other side so that they won't have to re-embody on earth. These invocations were so numerous and so persistent that the karmic board, realizing that these students didn't fully realize the responsibilities they would have assumed should their request be granted. They asked Joanne Serapis Bay to give them necessary information. In the following, we give excerpts of Serapis' address. I was told by the karmic board that you are storming the very gates of heaven in a magnificent desire to assist mankind. Once they are released from embodiment, from the necessity of taking to get on an earth body, giving them the tremendous freedom to complete their evolution at an inner level. It is desired by the karmic board that you might understand something of the intricacies of the act of mercy which you called for, in order that you may intelligently, in your application, prepare for the granting of such great petition. and the blessing of freeing these souls from the necessity of re-embodiment. It's one thing to ask innocently for the release of mankind from re-embodying, and it is quite another to know the pressure that you will place upon beings at inner levels. You must care for, guide, train, educate, and redeem these ever-increasing millions and millions of life streams. Let me now remind you that every individual has created a certain amount of what is referred to loosely as destructive karma in every earth life since the fall of man. This karma acts on many planes determined by which body is the chief offender in the case. The physical body performing the acts of violence, acts of physical thought, murder, and lie releases tremendous vital energy into the elemental substance of the physical world. That substance remains part of the imprisoned elemental life of the physical plane until the individual soul who has created it takes it back into its own physical body in some future life under the old occult law. This was done through suffering and disease. Now, through the action of sacred fire, it can be done through the use of purifying flame, violet fire, and the energy is thus redeemed and set free. It's that easy. Life streams perform great acts of discord on the mental plane. Crimes of mental cruelty, and the mental element is charged with vibratory action, and the stamp of the individual mental atmosphere must be redeemed through mental pressures returning to the mental vehicle at that same soul of some future time. Individuals that perform acts of emotional cruelty charge the substance of the emotional and feeling planes with great mass, with certain vibratory actions that will record primarily in the emotional body of that same life stream in later era. These various types of crimes, whether they're physical, mental, or emotional, in their return circuit are primarily caused for diseases of mind, feeling, and flesh. Now, in order for a soul to receive its full freedom from any theater of evolution, it must of necessity redeem the energies it has qualified imperfectly. For that reason, it is required of that soul that to have a body in each of these planes, including the physical form, through which it may redeem the physical elemental life. That was the occult law of the past, as you know. This was the reason why the cosmic law did not allow individuals to finish their progress at inner levels until they perfected and redeemed their physical energies on the physical plane. When the activity of the sacred fire came forth and the great group work under the ascended master, Saint Germaine, began, there were what you might call cosmic incinerators, established which at inner levels took into themselves the unpaid debts of the physical energy that had been imperfectly qualified by certain life streams. The individuals had rendered great service in other eras, even though they had yet some unconsumed karma, were not required to return to Earth. They were the first individuals who enjoyed new dimension and were allowed to go to Venus and to other stars and systems to complete their evolution. And the mass decrees invoking the use of violet fire of freedom's love, the student body consumed for these individuals, who were among those who received that dispensation, and the necessity of returning again in an earth body to complete their personal redemption. Now, we come to your request that some 300 billion life streams, 100 million life streams yearly, in all stages of obligation to life, absolutely without any knowledge of how to repay their debts to this planet Earth, physically, mentally, and emotionally, be released from further obligation to use the violet fire of freedom's love, future life, helping to bring this earth back again to the purity and perfection which it had when mankind first came forth upon it. This will mean that the student body, the conscious, active groups are making this petition and sending this mighty fiat forth in cooperation with Archangel Michael will have to assume that debt, at least so far as the physical world is concerned. I would like you to think and ponder upon this deeply, because it is a big task which you take upon yourselves and which the karmic board has asked to be explained to you. I do not mention this in any way to discourage you, but it is magnificent for you to be interested in the freedom of mankind from the will of birth and death. It's magnificent for you to be interested in the progress of evolution of this earth. We are hoping that at least a partial grant may be given so that we can see what the group activities will do for even, say, 100,000 souls in the course of a year. If even 100,000 live streams who are to pass from the earth in this 1 year were to be free from the necessity of re-embodiment, and the student body were to take upon themselves the karma of that number, successfully dissolving it, this cause would receive greater consideration from the karma board by next July. It does not mean that you must take the karma into your flesh, but it means that the application and use of the knowledge of the sacred fire and tremendous cause for purification of the souls concerned, that you render a consciously intelligent, illumined balance for the petition for which you ask in innocence. The petitions that are granted to the current board are always paid for by somebody's life. The great archangels, the mighty devas, and the masters of wisdom who petition the current board for dispensation always guarantee service through their own life for the grants they receive. In this great wisdom, the current board always measures the capacity of earnest and zealous, see the great plan, and yet have not the full understanding of what contained within the releasing the benefit and blessing. The great Archangel Michael himself, as you know, has offered to accept the full karma of all of the live streams. But as his service already employs far greater part of his life, is neither justice nor mercy to allow him to assume any further obligation in this regard. As for the mental and emotional crimes, these can be expiated on the other side because you retain these records within the etheric memory body. And that's that.